Hello, right, so today we're going to be doing this Ertil Batmobile. Trademark DC Comics, incorporated in 1989. Not exactly sure if it was actually made in 1989, but as you can see it's been pretty well played with. The paint overall is not too bad condition. It's a bit scuffed on the outer edges here, and this should be quite an interesting makeover. Or restoration rather. What I'm actually going to do is slightly customise it. I don't believe the Batmobile should be shiny black, gloss black. What I'm actually going to do it in is a satin black, and hopefully the idea as well is I'm going to highlight these engine parts, these exhaust parts, where they are there. Actually that's the flamethrower at the back there. The jet power runs pretty well. I mean, it's not Hot Wheels fast, but I might even think that I might be able to do something with those wheels as well, because they look pretty boring grey. And also I'm going to get rid of that. I just think it looks a bit tacky. I don't think Batman would be driving around with his bat symbol on the top of his roof. Just doesn't look right. In my mind, Batman should be more stealthy and more, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Intimidating. So a big shiny black car with a yellow logo on the roof? No, I don't think so. So I'm going to start off with drilling these rivets out. Plastic based, so I've got to be careful not to damage it too much. Got the drill ready, so this drill should be just about big enough to take off those rivet posts. So I'm just going to get it set up in my chuck here with the rubber grips. Got rubber grips, that way there's less damage to the casing of the car. So we'll just get that set up and then we'll continue to drill. Right, I've just drilled out probably the two most deepest rivets I've ever had to drill out. I don't know if you can actually tell, but they went right into that plastic. That plastic must have been about 3 mil deeper than I thought it was going to be. And the flange of the rivet went straight on down, so it took a while to drill out. Now once it's apart, it's apart. That is it. That's the outer casing, and the actual bottom part consists of the intake for the jet, and the outer casing's got the exhaust part, the blower. So yeah, that's that done, which was more trouble than it was probably anticipated. So now the best thing to do is for me to get this stripped right down. I'm going to have to glue it back together again. I was thinking about drilling it out and tapping it and putting a screw in. But I've got a feeling now those holes are probably a little bit too big for a screw. So I think, because really it's going to be for my son and he's going to keep it on his shelf, I think I'm just really going to glue it. Use some of my ever faithful Gorilla Super Glue Gel. Works well, never failed me before. Nothing's dropped apart anyway so far, so I think I'll get on and get the trusty paint stripper pot and proceed to get this stripped. Right, so the trusty paint stripping pot, which was an old Chinese takeaway carrying plastic thing, and this is the paint strip I'm going to use. Cheap stuff from the local discount supermarket. I love using that word. Just going, oh, it's a bit, yeah, runny. No, I used to buy the really expensive stuff, and I found that the cheap stuff does almost as good a job and for half the price. So using this horrible cheap paintbrush here to apply the paint stripper, there you go. As you can see, a lot of these models don't take much. It's bubbling up really nicely. Oh wow, that is probably almost as quick as the caustic soda. So it goes to prove it, with this stuff you don't need to use, I'll tell you what I normally use, no shame about it. I know you know it's not cheap. It's the old Nitromol stuff. That stuff. I know it's concentrated, but it's blaming expensive. Kept the lids because I like to keep the lids for doing stuff with. But that was under about £4, and 250ml. It lasts forever. I've had that probably about 6 months now. I've only used a little bit extra for this model because I thought it was going to, for some reason, take a bit longer to get the paint off. But this paint is absolutely just dropping off straight away. Again, vinyl gloves for protection, because this stuff is very dangerous if it gets on your skin. If you think this is what it's doing to this paint, imagine what it's doing to your skin. And also, I'm in a well ventilated area, which you need to be. I've got windows open and a door open. If you're doing it in quite an enclosed space, then you want some sort of carbon respirator or something along those lines. But yeah, I'm really happy with the way this is coming off. This is marvellous. I couldn't have wished for a better reaction to the paint, actually. Cheapo paintbrush that I picked up for a few pence, just to help dab it into all the corners. Oh, this is brilliant. Really happy with this. Really. So I'm just going to try and get this off a little bit more. And when you see the model next, I'm going to rinse it off into some cold water just to neutralise whatever paint strip is left on it. And then I'll show you the process of how to clean it up. So yep, that's great. I am more than happy with that. So there you see it. Not bad at all. There's a few little black bits, but they're literally just surface. All you need is something like a sharp instrument, and they'll just scratch off nicely. But to get it nice and clean, what I'm going to use now is this little multi-purpose rotary tool. I've mentioned it before in previous videos. £20, that's all I paid for it. Got a lovely selection of grinding and polishing wheels, and this steel one will clean up this brilliantly. So just going to give it a quick buzz, and then hopefully it should be ready for primer. Been over the entire casing, no more black paint. Now interestingly, obviously I couldn't get that disc polisher in there, so what I did use, I forgot I had it, was like a wire brush shaped like that, which got right in there perfectly. I'm not going to have to paint the inside, so I've left that, no point. When I put it together, you're not going to see it. There's no glass, no transparent areas. And you can see now that this has been highlighted really well now, that black shiny paint's off. I'm going to use a grey primer, a very light coating of satin paint, and I'm thinking about going over these details with maybe a gunmetal grey, which I think will look pretty cool. And again, maybe at the back here, I might just highlight or re-highlight these areas here with just a bit of red paint. I don't think I'll use a gloss red paint, I'll probably just use a matte one. Again, I just want that stealthier looking finish. And on the front here, where there were yellow lights, I might just be tempted just to do those instead of yellow, like a silver colour. I don't think yellow will look very good actually. So what I'm going to do now is go over the casting with some thinners just to clean it up. Make sure there's no grease from my hands, because the primer won't adhere to it properly. And the thinners I use is just this acrylic thinners from Tamiya. Just going to dab it on the cloth here and give it a good wipe over, just to remove any crap from the exterior. And then we're going to use a primer, and as before in previous videos, I don't splash out. You don't need any fancy stuff. That's the grey primer I'm going to use. So again, I keep saying it, a discount superstore. Well, it's not really a superstore, it's a discount shopping centre about 5-6 miles away from me. That lasts me the best part of a year. That there's loads of it in there. and I do believe it was less than £6, just over a fiver maybe. Really good finish it will give as well. So I'm going to prep this with some thinners, and then hopefully when you next see the model it should be coated in this lovely grey primer. Now I'm unsure if I've shown you previously how I do actually spray these, but I need both hands, and because I'm using one for the camera I'll just give you a quick demonstration. Probably between 6 and 9 inches away, just steady coat, that's all I need. I'll do top, sides, bottom and the back. Just a quick sort of spray. Don't want it too close because it'll pool, and then that's all you need. It really needs the lightest of coatings for this sort of model. Doesn't need it to go on thick at all, because what you'll find is it will just fill up all these details. So I'm just going to give this a quick wipe, and then we'll prime it. I do promise you in one of the videos I'll get my son or even the wife to hold the camera whilst I spray it, and that way you'll see how I do it. Now what I'm going to do with this one is, I've got a nice little area here, is I'm going to do it just outside the door using these forceps. I can grip that, and I'll just hold it outside the door with one hand, and with the other hand I'll just spray it. That way I'm not sucking in all the fumes and I won't have to wear a mask. The wind will just take it away. It's not raining at the moment, so that's what I'm going to do. So in a moment you should see this sprayed a nice light grey primer. Right, so as you can see that's come out really well. Just a light coat of the grey primer, and the beauty of this primer is, because it's acrylic as well, is it dries really quickly. So I shall probably give it 10 minutes or so, and then the next coat will be this wonderful, same company, same make of paint, satin black. Now what I did notice just before I did spray it was there was a couple of rough areas around the front of the casting, just a bit of metal sticking out, so I've just filed it off using one of these hobby files, as a curved one, just to get right in under, because obviously you can't use a flat one because that's an arch there. So whilst that's drying I'm going to look through my spares parts. I'm just wondering if I might be able to find some better looking wheels, or in fact I'm just going to use these, keep them on, because what I'm going to have to do is probably modify the axle a bit. So rather than make too much work for myself, if I maybe just paint the wheels up, or even leave them grey, I can't decide. I mean, they're not too bad, but I'll have a quick look anyway. But I will, however, paint up this. Again, I think I'm going to do this a gunmetal grey. There's too much black, it's just going to make it look boring. So I think I'll give this bit of a spruce up and paint that. Other than that, there's not a lot else I can do to this plastic base. So hopefully the next time you see this model, it should be a lovely coat of satin black. There you see, I've sprayed it now. It's looking a bit shiny still, it's a bit too wet. But that has come up really well. The details of the model are still quite clear. Yes, that is brilliant. That is really good. That is brilliant. So as that dries, that should dull down a bit. It shouldn't be so shiny. So I'm going to leave that now for probably a couple of hours. And when we come back to it again, it's going to be assembly time. So for today at least, that is all I'm going to film. Whilst this is drying, all I'm going to do is clean the base up, paint some of the details like this gunmetal grey, and the back of the model when it's a bit drier, maybe later on tonight, like a matte red, just the lights, and possibly, if it's dry enough, just the front of those lights I'll do them a chrome silver or something. So if you want to tune in again maybe and watch the rest of it, then feel free. Possibly tomorrow being Sunday it's going to get finished then, but I want to give it plenty of time to dry, and then we'll see about getting it all stuck together once all the rest of the details have been painted. I expect those hubs will go gunmetal grey as well. I couldn't find any wheels of a suitable size. I did look, so we'll make do with that, and we'll see you again when we're ready to do the finishing touches for the model.